learn something new. So today we are going to cover the HTML5 based log file policy, and we are going to use Operations Connector in order to create it, which is pretty cool. So let's just do it. So we'll go and create a new event based on structured log file. And I always recommend expanding the window, maximizing it. So you'll have all of the controls set up pretty neatly, and also you'll have the layout similar to mine when you operate your policy. Okay, so first of all, we need to create a sample log file in order to be able to test it before we deploy our policy. So we will do it right there on our operations connector server. It's going to be a local file. Of course, there is a way for you to monitor remote file servers, and you just need to download a tool that's called basically it mounts SFTP, a remote connection to file system on other Linux servers, but we're going to use it on a local level. So we are going to run this several times. Okay, so we know that somewhere in the TMP agent.txt, okay, we have a file that has all these three nice entries. Fantastic. Cool. So you know what we're gonna do a little bit more than that. Let's do this, and we'll go and we'll do we'll add the date. I hope it works. No, it doesn't. Okay, that doesn't matter. Okay, so we have 4 entries of this kind. I just don't want to keep the video long to have too many parameters in our log file. Well, that will suffice. So now we'll go and we'll say this policy is awesome. Because why not? This policy is awesome. The source is going to be /tmp agent txt. All right. And now we can load the sample data from server, or you can also do it from local file system. Basically, it would open a dialog which allows you to bring in the file into the policy editor. But we already have it on our target server, so we just sample data loaded, and then we'll go. And we see that the raw data has 4 lines, exactly as we've seen in the system, and the structured data is empty. So what is structured data? Basically, there is a whole bunch of syntax that you can see here on the right side. Okay, right here, right there. Okay, and what it does, basically, it allows us to isolate some parts of the text that we capture in order to create both parameters and make some sense out of what we get in the log file. And it's very flexible, but you need to know your stuff. Okay, so we always read from our last position. Okay, that's very important. Otherwise, it would just scan, read from the beginning for the first time, or from the beginning always, and it just would spam us with events. So we always home on the last position, and the agent would know where the last position in the target file is. And for example, if the agent kind of went wacky, or a server was down, or some networking was missing, it would be able to actually go scan the file and retrieve all of the relevant events that happened while the policy was not deployed, for example. Okay. Now, in terms of log file pattern, we can say, you know what, I want everything. So you just do a wildcard, and when you review the data, it would say structured data. It would just bring all of the line numbers. So that's not enough. Okay, everything, it doesn't mean that we capture the text. It just means that everything that you see is a text. Okay, so let's modify it a little bit. And now when we look at the structured data, it has the line numbers but no text. But at least we have 4 occurrences of something, but we don't know what the structure is. We don't know what this something is, right? So we are going to map it to a parameter that's called message. So basically, after the dot, you specify what are the contents that you try to capture. Okay, and in order to do so, we'll see what the structured data brings us. And now in the parameter message, we also specify that grab everything in the line and under the message map this text. So now we have some text to work with. Fantastic. So that's a very, very simple way of capturing all text. So now we are actually matching the functionality of a HTML5 based log file policy that you have in OBM. That's another video on my channel. You can go and watch it. It's actually pretty neat because we're using the new GUI. And as you know, Flash is going to be going away pretty soon. But still, now we are on the same on the same grounds because previously the HTML5 based log file policy just captures all text and isolates parts of it based on rules. And here you can actually capture various parts of the text. And for example, you know what? No, let's not test it. The video would be just too long. Let's go to our defaults and we'll say, awesome, the text is, and then we'll just drag and drop our data message, which is completely fantastic. And the default severity would be, for example, it would be warning. That would be the default severity. The ETI, we cannot grab the ETI, I think, without specifying the node, right? So we go to indicators, we refresh. Would it be able to pull it from the OBM server? It should connect to OBM server and bring all of the ETIs, event type indicators, and HIs, health indicators. Yeah, it's able to do so. Basically, if you specify related CI or a node that doesn't really, is not recognized by the system, it would not be able to pull the indicators that are matching the node. But by default, it just goes to the node CI and it works. Fantastic. We'll go to node. Under the node, we have some indicators. We'll grab something very simplistic. It doesn't really provide us too much context, but in general, you should know that ETIs and HIs, if you want to utilize them properly, you should probably create some of your own and not really use the out of the box, but we are using out of the box just to save some time. Okay, so what the ETIs are doing is basically our way to have an event that can be correlated, okay, without specifying an ETI that is exact in its naming, without specifying an ETI that exists on the OBM server as one of the mappings. The correlation based on topology-based event correlation would not work. So we are using just one of the generic one event storm is on in case we would like to create a video later for correlations. Well, we'll see how it goes. If I create this video, you'll see it on the channel. Okay, so the node. What should be the node? We can say message node name. So we go to policy variables. There are some out-of-the-box variables. So message node name is the name of the node, basically the host name, and message node is just extract the node as you understand it. So for the policy, there is a way to map the node. Let's see the tooltip over here. It says returns the IP address of the node. Okay, fantastic. And related CI, you know what? We are going to say related CI is going to be message node name. Message node name is the host name. All right, fantastic. So now let's define the rules. The rules are pretty simple. We're going to create event on matched rule. Basically, we're going to specify what is it that we're looking for. And we're going to say our first rule that looks for all of the text. all right? And in condition, we are going to specify that the property message, just to remind you, this is the property that we created here in the source tab. As you see, it says everything in the line, map it to a property name message. Okay, let's review the data just once more. Okay, and there we go. It creates a column or a property as it refers to here from professional perspective, from the syntax perspective, it's called message, and message equals to HP sensor has been started. Basically the text that we put into the file on every new line. Okay, then we can go to event attributes and we can either keep it as it is or override some of the defaults that we created earlier. As you see, the defaults are already stated over here. And I say, you know what, we specified enough default rules in order to keep it as it is. Okay, but in the description, I want to specify maybe, you know what, I want to specify this in the description, the values that we're going to get later. Okay, if I would drag and drop this, it would not be very useful to us. This is basically our way to manipulate the condition, right? So instead of typing it or copy pasting it, I could just grab a sample from the data that we loaded and say, this is what I'm looking for. And if I have multiple conditions, for example, searching only part of the text, I would create more properties and would just drag and drop them over here. But we're not going to do that. So save and close. Very simple policy. It just looks for a new line with this text and sends it to OBM. All right, so let's put it together. As you see now, the policy is created and saved, but it's not activated. In order to activate it, you just click here. It says enable, or in OBM terms, it basically deploy. All right, so it's time for us to go and see the OBM. And I have this GUI bug. It was solved in a newer version, but I need to upgrade the environment, but still it happens every several minutes. It's okay. So we'll see our event browser. It's not filtered on anything. There are no views mapped to it or anything like that. No view, basically. Yeah. Okay. So this one, you know what? Let's acknowledge all of the messages. Right click, close and reset HIs, because why not? There we go. It progresses and closes the 118 messages that we selected. Okay, just let it run for a couple of seconds so we will have a clear canvas. Okay, and I believe the policy did not have the interval specified properly. So I'm going to echo just one more line. Okay, so now if you see this file here, it has 4 lines, and now when I cut it, it has 5 lines. Okay, fantastic. Let's see if we captured it. Yeah, it should take a while because I did not specify the interval in the policy. We can modify the interval, I believe, by going to the source tab. While we wait, we can review the policy contents and see where is the interval is configured. All right, so in the source, we have the interval of 5 minutes. So I want to say, you know what, 1 minute is going to be good enough. I save and close, and I need to redeploy it. You see, it refreshed, and now it's kind of running. It says activated, but the new version was not deployed yet. So I'm just deploying a new version. In the meanwhile, let's see if the new event has arrived. Not yet, not yet. So let's wait for it. So previous interval was every 5 minutes. We are on 6:03, so that would be 6:05 before it runs. But since we deployed a new policy, it would just wait 1 minute with the new parameter, and then we should get our event. In the meanwhile, let's echo and wait. So let's recap what we did so far. We created a policy that just captures all of the text in the policy. Every new line is actually a full parameter. It's a full text that we can search. So we say, for example, in the condition, look for text that equals, which means that the whole string should be matched. Or we can say contains, so only part of the string can be matched. And if our log file has several types of data that we are looking for, we can create, in a single policy, we can create a multiple rule setting with some priority and hierarchy, which would go over the text that it found, and it would map the events and send the events to OBM. And there we go. There is our event. It says, awesome, the text HP sensor has been started. So basically this is something that came out of the policy itself. The policy mapped this part of the text by itself, if you remember the settings. Okay, let's see if we have the description over here. No, we don't. We need to open the full description of the event in order to see the content. So let's do just that. We right click it and we say, where is it? Where is it? Okay, somewhere here. Yeah, there's the button, which allows me to review the policy details in the Flex. And there we go. This is the title and the additional info. We get the description, which was also parameterized. Great success. It works. So this is how you create a parameterized policy. Of course, in order to make it more useful and make it more applicable to your everyday use, you need to do it a little bit differently. What you need to do is to create a more comprehensive rule which looks at the log file and it filters out all of the unnecessary text. And there is a way to do it. I suggest you refer to the documentation for that one. Even if I will have a video dedicated to that, it would not do it any justice. You need to practice. Okay, but in general terms, if you want to look for something very simple, use either this video, which creates a policy elsewhere, for example, in Operations Connector, or you can go into a video that explains how to use the HTML5 based UI in the policy editor in OBM, and there you'll find a more generic log file policy that you can create. So I hope you liked it. Subscribe, you'll see more content coming on my channel. See you in the next one.